Welcome to the channel. My name is Matthias, and I have to say, I'm really not down with filming myself. It's very hard. I put on my lucky hat today, brewed myself some great tea, and we are ready to go. And we're going to talk about a fantastic book that I'm in the first couple of chapters, but I'm having a blast. Good Arguments: How Debate Teaches Us to Listen and to Be Heard by the Korean writer Bo Seo. Probably butchered the last name there, but I'm sorry. I'm not sure how to pronounce it correctly. So this book sort of caught me by surprise because I thought it was going to be 100% focused on how to debate, how to get your point across, how to maintain your position when you have to defend an idea. And I was really surprised because the book actually starts off as a biography of the author, and he has a very interesting story. At least I really liked it up until this point. And as he's telling his own story, he starts weaving in some core concepts of what he's trying to communicate with this book. And he actually starts off with something really, really basic to the point that when you read it, you're like, duh, yes, this is obvious. But it's really important that you take this into account, be it in the context of a debate or when you're trying to get across an idea or when you're giving an exposition on any subject. But you know, there's going to be a back and forth between yourself and the person or people that you're trying to give this information to in the first place. Because Bo and I myself have experienced this many times, you start to realize that when you're trying to communicate, you're talking past the person. They're not seeing where you're trying to go with your points of view. They do not understand what you're going for or what you're trying to communicate. So the author gets into this concept that what I'm trying to communicate, even though it's the same subject, is different to what the other part is trying to communicate or trying to understand. So he explains that when one's trying to get this information across, one can present it factually, normatively, or prescriptively. And this happens with the other side. They may want the information or want to understand the information in these same terms, but they're looking for something different than how you're presenting them. I may be presenting facts, but the other side is understanding or needing me to explain things in a normative way. So we're not understanding what we're going for. Again, it's very basic, but even in my personal life, when I'm having disagreements with my wife, I always stop in my tracks and try to define what we're trying to understand in a certain situation. I adjust how I'm trying to get my point across, and it works very, very well. Again, this is very basic, and this is just an initial concept that this book gives us. Just in case, factual would be hard information, things that happen, stats. Normative would be how things should be or how to act in a certain type of situation. And prescriptive is basically setting a list of things that how things should be done. This is me from the future, and I was editing this video and I totally screwed up on this part. When we're talking about normative is how things should be, while prescriptive is how they're going to be. And obviously, in many situations, all these ways of presenting information can get mixed and be very complicated. Another thing that the author does not mention, at least in this point, or maybe he presupposes, but I'm a constructivist, and I think this is very, very important, is to define the subject that you're talking about in the first place, because maybe you define something one way and the other person defines it another way, and maybe you're not talking about the same thing in the first place. And a lot of people, possibly on the left, misguided people, would say, well, nothing can really be defined, everything's relative, and it's a very stupid way of seeing things. I understand how people get to that point, but they never mature their points of view. Society would collapse if we couldn't define things, if people in a group couldn't reach the conclusion, this means this. I know meanings change over time and they evolve, but I'm getting away from what I'm trying to get to. The thing is that when both parts understand differently the main subject that you're talking about, you can go on for hours and hours, and you're going to start talking past each other, and you're not going to be able to find a conclusion, because basically you're talking about two different things. So defining the subject is fundamental.